Okay, so I know y'all filled out this chart already, but what we're gonna look at is just going back through it. On this part, what phase of the business cycle are we?
Expansion.
So our problem is inflation's over 3%. So anytime you see on any of the AP style questions, they're like inflation is 7%, you should automatically think I'm in an expansion. And I know when I'm in an expansion, people have a lot of money in their pocket, which causes that demand pull inflation. So the government needs to think about, how do we control inflation? We reduce the money in supply. And so the Fed was gonna run tight monetary policy or contractionary, where they're gonna increase that reserve requirement. So what do banks have to hold on? Do they have to hold on to more money, or do they have to lend out more money?
Hold it.
Hold on to more money. So that means there's less available for what? Loans. That discount rate goes up. That interest rate banks can borrow from the Fed. And then the government sells. They sell papers, the bonds and securities, and what do they take from the people? And all of that caused the money supply to decrease, right? So our money curve went to the left. That shows that the interest rate went up, and do people want to have a high interest rate when they take loans? So that cause people to be discouraged from lending, and it slows our economy, causing what phase of the business cycle? The expansion to go to a contraction. So do y'all see how the use of these tools caused the next phase of the business cycle? So now we're in a contraction. And we see our problem is unemployment. Do you see how they're two different problems? Over here it's always inflation, over here it's unemployment. It's over 5 to 6%. So if people are unemployed, what don't they have in their pockets? Money. And so our problem here is the money supply is down because aggregate demand is down. Our solution is we need to increase the money supply by easing it up, expanding the money supply. So they will do easy or expansionary monetary policy. So they reduce the reserve requirement. So what has to be kept on hand? More or less? Less, and what could the banks do with that money? Loan it out. The discount rate, that interest rate goes down. The government takes these IOUs from you, those bonds and securities, and what do they give you in exchange? What just happened to the money supply? It went up. So then now, if that money supply increases, what happened to the interest rate? It dropped. The demand for the interest, we see the interest rate decreases, encouraging lending, causing economic growth. So when I thought I was in a contraction, when I use these policies here, what happens to their business cycle? It goes to the expansion. So do you see how the government uses these tools to resolve one issue, but then it causes the next phase? And so if we're looking at this right now, where do you think the U.S. is currently right now? We're in an expansion. So what should our government be doing with that reserve requirement? That discount rate. Selling stuff too. Are they doing this? They're doing this right here.
That's wrong.
That's the wrong policy. Exactly. Because if they're running that, what are they doing with the money supply? If they're running this, they're increasing the amount of money, which is causing what? If there's more money out there,
Inflation.
prices are going up. Is it causing this to get hotter and hotter and hotter? And so, which we know because that happened in the 20s, right? The Fed was actually running the wrong policy, which caused the whole hugeness of the depression. And so, one of the things I have to point out is, I'm going to draw it up here. Don't draw this out. I'm drawing something extra. Right? So y'all know the business cycle goes up and down like that, right? But our biggest down and our biggest up was the 20s, right? And the 30s was our biggest low, right? But then after that, it kind of goes like this. Sorry, there's a delay in my squiggles. After that, did we have as much highs or lows? No, because there's going to be a guy named John Maynard Keynes that comes in saying that the government can deal with the economy. And you all saw this with FDR when he was doing those jobs, and so you get money out there. And so we will never have this huge highs and lows anymore because our government has fiscal and monetary policy. Can they control the highs and the lows? by using these tools. And eventually I'll get to fiscal policy later, but do you now understand why the highs are not so high anymore and the lows are not? We will see the most significant ones. Okay, so now we're gonna flip to the back of this page. So if I have high unemployment, I'm just trying to get us in every single way so we can get these tools. Because I promise on your test, you're gonna be asked questions, how should they implement this, what should they do? And you have to have it clear in your head. So if you're a graphical person, like a visual person, this one is there for you. If you're a reading person, we did the reading one. But if you're a graph person, here's the graph, okay? If we have high unemployment, what phase of the business cycle are we in? Contraction. What should we do in a contraction? We're in tight or easy?
Easy.
So if we ran that, what will happen to the money supply? The money supply would increase. So to increase our money supply, what do we need to do with the discount rate? Lower it. What do we need to do with the reserve requirement?
Lower.
What do we need to do? Do we need to buy or sell?
Buy.
I don't know if this works for y'all. Some of y'all like the graph versus the other one.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's rapid inflation. High unemployment is over 5 to 6%. Rapid inflation, it's over what? 3. So if we're having rapid inflation, what phase of the business cycle am I in? What policy do we want to run?
Tight.
What is our goal for our money supply? To lower the money supply. So what do we do to the discount rate? What do we do to the reserve requirement? What do we do with open market operations?
Sell.
Okay, do y'all feel that you got it? Okay,